Oh, welcome! Welcome to Hug Nation. Today's Belief Buffet is inspired by my weekend that I just spent at the Ignite Festival. Excuse me, not a festival. I learned a thing or two. This was a conference. Initially, it was explained to me that it was a conference because festival has become synonymous with rave, which has become problematic when getting permits and things like that. But it's more than that. A festival is also, at least it has become to me, to start to be associated with an event such as Coachella, where there is a group of musicians and bands that attract a crowd of people. Now there's additional magical things, and there might be rides, and there might be art and things, but it's really, it is very much there is a performers and then appreciators of art, of all those kinds, which is, it's a wonderful thing, but it is different than a conference. In a conference, everyone there is potentially somebody who has something to offer, something to teach. Everyone is a teacher and a student, and you are there to meet the people, to make the connections, and to have those bonds grow and those relationships grow. Now that is true in a business conference as well as a fire conference. And so I really like that distinction, and I think that I'm going to try to shift my language to reflect that. The gatherings that I enjoy the most are the ones that are more like conferences and less like concerts. So moving forward, I will use that kind of spectrum as I decide where I'm going to be spending my resources and time. And so this conference was based on flow and fire. And I have not been keeping secrets and developing a fire performance career without telling you. No, I don't do any flow arts. I can do a forward weave with poi, but I don't feel called to fire, and I don't really have a practice of any sort of flow. And so, why was I there? Well, because one of the people helping organize and get talent and teachers is someone who had, Marvin, who had invited me to come to Venice Beach last year a number of times and share with the Flow Temple people. And we found this really neat overlap with people who are studying flow and movement and people who are studying flow in spirituality and how there's so much that is the same. There's so much that is about getting out of the way, getting your ego, your mind, your limitations, and letting that dissolve, working to get rid of that, and so that you are in a flow that is not just you. You are just tuning into something larger than you. And so as people are doing these, elaborate movements and things, they're not inventing this movement. They're not inventing these shapes and this geometry. They are getting out of the way and allowing themselves to get in tune with that flow. Now, I'm saying this as someone who does not do that, as someone who is listening to people talk about it, and who sees the parallel in that with the practice that I have been pursuing in terms of a lifestyle flow, and not discovering kindness, but getting the things out of the way that make kindness feel like the natural movement of the next action. And so, I was very inspired by people there. I was very touched by the interactions I had, and I also had a couple experiences that I wanted that are going to a lot of big trucks today. Speaking of sounds that we can experience in the now, but I wanted to after I gave a talk there, a few people approached me with questions that they had afterwards. And there was a magical moment for me when I was at the Fire Jam, which is an unbelievable thing to witness. It's kind of like if you've ever been to Burning Man, the night of the burn, before the man burns, the conclave is there, and there's just like, all you can see is just tons of people lit up and going crazy with their fire. It was like that, except all night long. And everyone there was a fire performer, which made it so that it wasn't even a performance at all. It was more of an expression, which just felt so honest and such a the word performer didn't kind of fit, because it wasn't like, let me show you how awesome I am. It was, let me take this opportunity to express myself around a community that values that kind of expression, a conference of that sort. And so seeing these people just, it was very loving and supportive and beautiful. And so I was watching, and someone came and asked me a question, asking, like, well, okay, I really enjoyed your talk. How does one put some of these things into practice? And so I started kind of talking and sharing, and then he said, well, let me get my friend, and pulled somebody else over, and then a few other people that were there earlier came over, and so there was kind of a little circle as I was talking, and I was really kind of starting to just kind of really get asking great questions, and I was really starting to feel in the flow and just talking. And at one point he's like, I feel like I'm monopolizing your time. I'm so grateful, but I know you have to. And I was like, oh, you are like fueling the fire. So if you want to hear more, I'll. And he said, oh yeah, please. And so I started talking. There's people listening. And then he leaned over to his friend and said, this is the guy that Marvin said has word flow. And I was like, oh yeah. And then I looked behind me, and there's all these performers, people in their movement flow expressing themselves, and here I was in my word flow expressing myself, and I was like, I'm a part of the jam, I'm a part of the fire jam, I'm in the flow jam. And so it was a cool feeling of being a part, even though my physical activities were different. So I wanted to share some of the things that came out during that conversation about how, what, where. Oh, we're losing our audio, huh? Wow, wow, wow. Well, anytime the audio goes out, just think of something brilliant and assume that I said that.